Hello, I'm Quinny. Welcome to the channel. In this video, guys, I'm going to be giving you my 5 steps to building a strategy on SoRare. If you like the content, please make sure you do like the video. It'll help somebody else find it who might like it also. And if you find yourself watching a few of these videos, please subscribe to the channel because it goes a long way to supporting me and helping the channel grow. I hope you enjoy this, guys, and let's get stuck into it. Now, there's a saying in business that if you can't track it, you can't optimize it, okay? And that is very much true for the strategy you will be deploying or not deploying, depending on your current situation and whatever, on SoRare. So the very first point I would always come to would be, quite simply, you should always be making sure the first point of your strategy is you're using your existing knowledge base, okay? You're using something that knowledge that you've already acquired over, any kind of applicable, transferable kind of platform, whether it be a game like a Football Manager or a FIFA, or whether it be another platform you've came from where similar, market trends and such are present, basically. So that should always be the first place you stop. And on this screen here, the only thing I'm kind of really looking to show you is if you look down the breakdown of the leagues that I've got here on the left hand side, you'll see that I don't have any K League. I've got 14 J League players, and I think maybe about 5 of them are cards I've won, I've not actually bought. Eredivisie's only been out since January, February already. I got about 8 cards in that. Bundesliga I've been watching for a long time over the last little while. I've got a bunch of cards there. The same with Liga Santander or La Liga, Liga 1 or the French one, and Serie A. I've got a decent kind of similar amount of cards across those territories. And again, these are leagues and clubs I'm very familiar with, and when I've been picking these cards up, I've been doing that based on pre-existing knowledge that I have, okay? The second thing I would definitely say you should be making sure, so the first part of your strategy is what do you know? That should be the first thing that builds your strategy in terms of your foundation. Now, for many of you, the existing knowledge you've already garnered from, in these other kind of parallel universes, if you like, financially might not make actually the most sense for you. It depends on your budget, your wallet, your appetite for the game, and your hunger for actually progressing in the game and being successful and whatever. So the second point of the strategy, because you'll always make use of some existing knowledge you've got, you might not be able to make most of as much of it as you would like or desire. But the second point has to be, what is the shortest learning curve, okay? So at the moment, at point of recording, we've just had the 20 to 21 season cards be issued, as well as the new rookie card being released. So amazing day for the platform in sense of this new kind of chapter that we're moving into in terms of the card designs, and kind of trying to meld that card design aspect with the art aspect on the NFT space, which is really lovely. But there will be a lot of leagues where you don't have a working knowledge of, or you don't have any pre-existing knowledge that you can transfer and almost skin graft into your SoRare strategy. So the second point is always going to be, what is the shortest learning curve for you? What is the region, what is the division, what is the area of the market that you can see an opening, something that you can actually make good benefit from, but you don't actually have that much of a working knowledge of, you don't have that much experience of. What I would be suggesting your second part of building your strategy has to be is identifying the shortest learning curve you have outside of your existing knowledge base, and that's where you should be focusing. A lot of guys are really comfortable, a lot of guys I speak to are really comfortable with that in the MLS front, because it's an English speaking country. A lot of their media and a lot of their kind of, their kind of environment is all English speaking, and we can kind of get familiar with teams and setups quite easily, as well as just 21st century culture. America is on every television program, and it's one of these things more people can probably identify with quite quickly, or get a working knowledge of a wee bit quicker. A lot of the players you find in that league aren't from the European leagues. Maybe they're moving out because they're not of the level or whatever it might be. But a lot of guys have jumped headfirst into the K League, a lot of guys have jumped headfirst into the J League, and even the Challenger Euro divisions as well. Portugal, Russia, Holland, Belgium. It could be one of these countries where you might not have a full operational kind of working knowledge, but you're not really that far away from knowing as much as you would require to be able to make some select purchases and try and maximise any opportunities that come your way in that respect. So point 2, what is the shortest learning curve of the knowledge base you don't have to acquire, would be the second part of your strategy for optimization. Now I'm going to give a specific example of a kind of ratio, a rule, a metric that I run on my strategy, and I've always kind of ran throughout my life since this kind of this thing was kind of presented to me, and it's, you know, stood the test of time, and I'll walk you through it in a second. But point three has got to be, you've got to have some sort of metric on the cards you hold in terms of, and we'll get into this in other videos, but what ones are maybe collector cards, what ones are dynamic, what ones are you going to actually be deploying in tournaments, what ones are you buying to just sell in a few months' time, or you may be buying them to sell them in a few years' time. So you need to have some sort of metric on the card makeup of your gallery in terms of what is being utilised, what is on the shelf gathering dust in a sense. So the rule I work with, and I've worked with in businesses I've ran and lots of our stuff, is what's known as the 80-20 rule. Okay, now if you've been in business or sales or anything like that, you're probably familiar with a version of the 80-20 rule. I think there's a few different versions knocking around, but when it was first taught to me, the 80-20 rule, what it was, or how it was explained to me exactly, was bearing in mind I ran like a team in an office and that sort of thing, 80% of your staff are going to give you 20% of your result, and 20% of your staff are going to give you 80% of your result, and that's kind of the way a sales office does really work, to be honest with you. On the flip side to that, the rule also went that 20% of your staff are going to give you 80% of your problems, you know, and I think that can be quite transferable into a SoRare situation. So if you think about your gallery, my gallery now is about 130, 140 cards or whatever. The 80-20 rule is something I've always got in my mind. I'm thinking about 20% of my cards are what are going to get me my results on a game week. You know, you can't deploy 5 squads into Division 4, you can't deploy 5 squads into Division 3, etc. You only get one entry. So I'm always quite mindful of the fact that around, give or take, 20% of my cards are going to be what dictates my success in SO5 and in tournaments. And conversely, and with that as well, probably about 20% of my cards are what's going to generate 80% of my secondary market revenue, because not every card I'm going to buy is going to be highly sought after, not every card I'm going to buy is going to go up in value, not every card I buy is going to have a high demand around it 12 months of the year, you know. So that's the metric I run with when I'm kind of thinking about my gallery and trying to make sense of, right, oh, how much am I actually able to optimize, how much is too much, how much is not enough, and trying to help me build from that way. There's a few other techniques, and I recommend you maybe jump on YouTube and Google and that kind of thing, but there's other metrics you can use, but that's what I run with. So point 3, have some kind of metric that controls the volume and the makeup of your gallery, and for me, I run with the 80-20 rule. Now point 4 on building your strategy is setting deadlines. Okay, so you may have different deadlines around, especially if you're a profit driven account, you might have some deadlines you want to set around maybe realising a wee bit of profit, or it might be around further deposits or the price of ETH. It could be a lot of different things, but you should definitely be setting yourself deadlines and milestones to earmark progression against, you know, whether it be building the gallery up to being 100 cards, or whether it be downsizing the gallery down to 70, you know, much more high quality cards versus your 100, maybe you've got a wee bit of fat on top or whatever. But having a deadline, so when you're making deadlines, okay, so I've been on the platform now since June last year, and previous experiences I've had, I've always operated the deadlines that kind of circulate around 1, 3 or 6 month cycles. From other things that, you know, those cycles were not terribly clear on how well they will translate directly into this space, because there's a lot of other moving factors and a lot of other variables. But those are the kind of parameters I've always kind of worked with, is I should have some sort of deadline for something to happen within the next month, the next 3 months, and the next 6 months. And for me, those deadlines, when I say 1, 3 and 6 months, are what I term as short, mid and longer term objectives. Okay, now equally you can zoom out from that and apply the same short, mid and long term ratios across a longer period of time, which I also do. But in both instances, what I'm explaining to you here is, for your strategy, you should have concrete deadlines that you set in the cold light of day. If you guys will remember, and I'll just pull my gallery up on screen just so you can see it, if you guys have been here for a while, around December and January we had massive ETH rises, okay, and we'll talk about this in other videos that we've got lined up, okay. But when ETH was massively running away and the value of it was going up, etc, etc, I'd already set some deadlines, and a lot of these kind of strategy guidelines I'm talking to you about now, I'd already set them in about November time, before any of the madness happened. So as the madness was happening, don't get me wrong, I was still a bit conflicted in the sense of what did I do? Did I try and maximise some of this really cheap ETH that's now really expensive, or did I try and optimise that in the marketplace? How did I go about doing that? But what I always fell back to was, right, okay, in November, before anything went mental, what was my plan, what was my strategy? And I've just always followed through with that, because decisions and guidelines and deadlines, all that stuff that I'm kind of chatting to you about in this video, that you make in the cold light of day, sober body and mind. There's no external factors perhaps influencing your decisions and your motivations. Most of the time, those are going to be the best. They're going to be the best pathways to follow through, is the ones that you've made in the cold light of day. You know, because when things are going mental, you know, maybe the price of cards is just going up, maybe the price of ETH is going up or down, different things. But opportunities will open themselves up at all these variable kind of gateways, if you like. And the way I've managed to maximise as much of these variables as possible is by staying true to the course that I plotted initially. Okay, and that's again, like I said at the tip off of the video, you can only optimize something if you track it, and that's your strategy as well. You might want to move the goalposts in light of recent events, in light of developing activities, and that is fine. But as long as you're kind of keeping that kind of sound body in mind, and you're making decisions in a rational manner, then I don't think you can go too far wrong in terms of optimizing any unforeseen or unpredicted circumstances. And then the last one for me, point 5, is probably the most important one for anyone who's likely to see this video, and that is fun over stress. Okay, so whenever it comes to strategizing on any game, any endeavor you're likely to pursue, it's very easy to get overwhelming kind of sense of importance, in the sense that every decision you make is make or break. Every decision you make, oh my god, this could be the make or break of me in terms of all profit or go bust, or you know, I might make a bad decision, I might regret it next week, I might regret it next month. If I don't make this decision now, might I regret it next month or next year? The main thing that your strategy has to always make sure it keeps you in control of is that stress and fun element. If you don't have a lot of these kind of little checkpoints that we've ironed out throughout the video already, and then these unforeseen external forces come into play in the market, whether it be, you know, a demand in players or a rise in ETH or whatever, then the fun over stress ratio will be flipped upside down, because you'll be stressing out your mind. What do I do? What is the right decision for my gallery? What is the right decision for me as a person? How do I best navigate this? And when stress overtakes fun, guys, you will just not make good decisions, I promise you that now. Or you might not make the same decision that you would have made in sound body and mind, with a big, you know, calm mind and settled nerves, if that makes sense. So whenever I'm building my gallery, and I'll just put it back up on the screen so you can see it again, the majority of the themes that run through my gallery, and there's kind of overarching themes like, you know, under 23s and super rares, MLS, Europe, you know, whatever. But whether it or even ex-Celtic players or Scottish players, there's a lot of different kind of little kind of minor theme kind of you know, mini galleries within my gallery, and every one of them are something that I have, like I said in point 1, a working knowledge of to some extent, or they might even fall into point 2 where I've managed to shorten the learning curve and get a bit more engagement with. So when I see new cards coming on the market, like today we've got all the new K-League stuff come on, or when we had AC Milan come on the other day, or Galatasaray a few days beforehand, or Liverpool, or PSG, or Real Madrid, or whatever, I don't stress out about what I've not got and what I'm trying to get. I always just try and keep my mind on, right, well, the gallery is built around these kind of fun elements. These fun elements for me in particular is mainly SO5, and then the secondary element to that for me is like the makeup of my collection. In my mind, my gallery, if you were to look at it, it should really tell you something about me in terms of my activities on the platform, as well as my kind of football knowledge and what my football preferences are in terms of players and clubs and all that kind of thing. So above all else, guys, make sure your strategy is enjoyable for you to deploy. Make sure it's something that you're happy to engage with. It's something that you find appealing and fun and engaging, because ultimately it is a game, and if you don't find it engaging and fun and all the rest of it, then most of these other things we spoke about are absolutely inane. There's no point even worrying about it. Okay, so fun above stress, guys. There's a wee ratio. Just always try and keep that in the front of your mind, especially when things are externally moving out with your control, or with you didn't maybe foresee happening. Hope you enjoyed the video, guys. Right now about to pop up on screen some other stuff I've made you might like. Like, subscribe, share, retweet, all that good stuff, guys. Stay out of trouble, and I'll catch you on the next one.
Tailoring.